Patrick Cook here. Welcome to session number 10 of our Mastering Mandelbulb3D Formula tutorial series. Now, we've covered some pretty decent ground so far, and what I want to do now is to continue our tour of the formulas window. I think it's important that you have a pretty good handle on all of the various functionality that pertains to the formulas window before we start getting a deeper into how to mix and match all the formulas that are available to us. So let's continue with talking about the functionality of the formulas window. All right, so hang on now, don't get ahead of me now. There's a once you have a good foundation of all the functionality pertaining to formulas, you're going to be able to do some amazingly creative stuff with this Mandelbulb3D software application. Now, let me just say, let me spin off here a little bit and talk about a little bit of theory. The Mandelbulb3D software application, the fractal generator, is amazingly deceptive in just how powerful it is. It's easy enough to crack it open, throw a couple formulas in there, and you might get something interesting. You might not. Most of the time, you're not going to get a pretty graphic. Most of the time, you're just not. The working with the Mandelbulb3D software fractal generator, which is true with probably most fractal generators, you don't know what you're going to get until you try something. You don't. Working with the Mandelbulb3D fractal generator is much like working with other fractal generators. It's really a process of discovery. You just don't know. And you really never get to a point, I have found, where you know the formulas so well that you pop one in, pop it in, and you get what you want. You can't predict this very well. You just can't. I have found, and I don't really think. Maybe if you spend all day, every day for years, you might get to a point where you can pretty much predict what you're going to get on the screen. But what I've found is that working with the Mandelbulb3D software formulas is really a process of discovery. So how do you go about discovering? Well, you just put combinations of formulas in and see what happens. And if you don't like that graphic, you put another formula in and you see what happens. And maybe you start modifying the properties of the various formulas and see what happens. And then what's going to happen is, what I have found is, all of a sudden, wow, now that is a really, really interesting graphic. What can I do with it? Is it, should I make it a super resolution graphic? Should I make it the basis for an animation? What should I do with that? And you discover these things, and then and then the problem you've got is you discover something interesting, but you're not quite ready for that. You're not ready to spin off on that particular graphic project. And then you wind up saving it and parking it somewhere. And then eventually you get dozens, if not hundreds, of these possibilities, all right, for future projects using, the Mandelbulb3D software. So it's a process of discovery, and it really is. It's not a process of talent so much. It's very difficult to predict what you're going to get on the screen. Even if you understand the formulas really well and you've got a lot of experience. It still really is, a lot of it is accidental. So with that in mind, one of the ways that you can improve your creativity is by understanding the controls that you have to work with. Like we were talking about iteration count, minimum, maximum iteration, talking about the hour bailout. Now, those are things that if you really study and experiment with and understand, you get a sense for what's going to go on, and how you might get different results by playing around with those, what I call formula operators. All right, now, with that said, let's look at some other functionality pertaining to the formulas window. In the few minutes that I have left, let me just point something out to you. And I need to punch the reset button here anyway. I want to clean up this whole area here so that we can continue on. What happens is when you punch this reset button on the formulas window, it does not give you any confirmation, and it will wipe clean all of your formula assignments. It'll reset you back to alternate. You're going to get the integer power in Formula 1, and all of the values down here are reset to their default values. No confirmation message, done. Now I can add that I don't know of any way, and I'm certain that there isn't any way to save your formula configuration other than saving your project as an M3P file or an M3I. I talked about all of these in the animation tutorial series number 1. So you can save your formula configuration along with your project, but there's no way to save the configuration itself as a separate little file. Okay? All right, so I'm going to punch this reset button. I've got 3 formulas assigned here, and you see the values down in here. If I hit that, no confirmation message, all gone. Everything's reset. That used to be 1024. All right. This is now integer power, and Formula 1, 2, 3, and 4 have been wiped clean. All right. So as long as you understand it, no big deal. All right. But be careful with this little bugger here. Now, obviously, nothing happens over on the main screen until I hit calculate. So, which is what I just did right there. All right. So, okay. So, the reset button, be careful with that. All right. If you like a formula configuration, get over here and save it. Don't be so much concerned about the graphic. Don't be concerned about lighting and animation, keyframes, stuff like that. If you like your formula configuration, save it as an M3P file to protect yourself in case this is all lost. And again, I talked about all that saving functionality over in the animation tutorial series number 1. Okay? All right, let's end this this particular session right here. When we come back, I think what we're going to do is we're going to talk about some of these other capabilities down here and kind of get those out of our way. Okay? All right, I'll see you in the next session.